Is it helping the party to tell them to return to the rhetoric that helped them lose in 2024, like the dictator kind of stuff? It doesn't work on half the country. It's not going to get any better.
I don't think they have answers. You know, and is it me? He's looking banged up.
Yeah, he's been having
it's
yeah,
the first time.
rough.
It's something I've never seen with him. He looks scared.
Greg Gutfeld just dropped a political grenade on Barack Obama's meticulously curated legacy, transforming eloquence and charisma into a fiery battlefield of tough questions and brutal truths. With his trademark wit and surgical sarcasm, Gutfeld dismantles the glossy narrative of the hope and change era, exposing the cracks beneath the surface, unmet promises, a fawning media, and the unmistakable scent of elite double standards. It's not just commentary, it's a high-voltage reality check. For those who believed Obama's legacy was untouchable, Gutfeld doesn't just challenge that notion, he obliterates it, piece by piece. And then, with a smirk, he asks the one question that silences the room. What did he really fix? Barack Obama pulled off what might be the slickest political sleight of hand in recent memory, turning 8 years of underwhelming results into something that looked like a critically acclaimed Netflix original, complete with a glowing 98% on Rotten Tomatoes. But Greg Gutfeld isn't buying the special effects. He doesn't need smoke, mirrors, or a velvet glove, just a sharp tongue, a stash of inconvenient facts, and zero patience for the idea that soaring speeches can patch over policies that fell flat. Behind the curtain of charisma, Gutfeld sees the cracks and he's not blinking.
You to believe, not in my ability to bring about change, but in yours. Yes, we can. Yes, we did. Yes, we can.
Oh, God.
It was a moving speech, and the audience response equally moving. So if the Obama presidency were a film, this speech would be the climax. All that's missing is the horse, the sunset, the rousing closing music as the title card reads the end, perhaps in cursive.
Let's set the record straight. This guy ran the country like he was building a LinkedIn empire, slick branding, buzzwords galore, and a arsome padded with style over substance. You'd think he cured cancer, erased the national debt, and invented guilt-free dessert, judging by the way people still gush over him. Meanwhile, Greg Gutfeld's holding the actual receipts, squinting through the smoke and mirrors, asking the uncomfortable question, what did he really accomplish aside from a sky-high drone tally and a highlight reel packed with celebrity selfies?
With somebody that you don't like and you try to lose them at the party. That's what Obama has done to Joe. He's lost them at the party and now he's moving on, and then he tweets, and then you find out that he's tweeting about something else while you're at the party. And it's just, I think it's kind of mean to Joe. The second thing is that it's part of that I told you mechanism that only happens when things are good. Because do you think Obama would take any responsibility if the good times were actually bad?
Gutfeld tears back the curtain like a man who just found out his lifetime warranty has a 3-month loophole, sharp, amused, and ready to call out the con. Obama arrived on the scene with promises of hope and change, but somewhere along the way, hope needed a therapist, and change ended up living in a tent behind a Whole Foods. The economy didn't soar, it staggered, while the media cheered like it was breaking world records. Wages stayed flatter than a vegan pancake, yet somehow, the narrative spun him as Willy Wonka, handing out golden tickets to a candy-coated dream that never came.
President Obama took another stand against evil yesterday, lashing out at ISIS, pernicious gang crime and human rights abuses in left-wing dictatorships like Venezuela and Cuba. I was kidding. He went after Fox News again.
I think the effort to suggest that the poor are sponges, leeches.
Let's dive into the stimulus plan that grand, glittering lifeline sold as the economic equivalent of an adrenaline shot straight to the heart of a struggling nation. But Greg Gutfeld sees it differently, more like dousing a raging forest fire with a gallon of Gatorade, then acting surprised when the flames kept climbing. It wasn't a rescue mission, it was a $1 trillion pity party dressed up in buzzwords and banners. And speaking of banners, remember those Recovery Act Signs plastered everywhere? Turns out some of them cost more than the handful of jobs they were supposedly celebrating. Talk about optics over outcomes.
Act of wonderfully skewed priorities, President Obama will appear in a reality TV show in which he gets survival tips from Bear Grylls in Alaska. Funny how far that is from the streets of Chicago, outposts in need of real survival training, much like the streets of Baltimore, Milwaukee, New York, New Orleans, where citizens are ventilated daily.
And then there was Healthcare Obama's so-called crown jewel. Though for millions staring at skyrocketing premiums and laughable deductibles, it felt more like a crown of thorns. Greg Gutfeld tears into that disaster like it's the only thing, lighting up a Christmas tree during a power outage. The rollout? A glitch-riddled train wreck that looked like it was coded by sleep-deprived interns who thought HTML was a new texting acronym. Remember the famous line, "If you like your doctor, you can keep your doctor?" Greg's still waiting to find his maybe, hiding out in Canada, buried under paperwork. The Affordable Care Act quickly morphed into something far less affordable and far more performative. Congrats! You're now confused, overbilled, and somehow still uninsured. And then there's that Nobel Peace Prize. Greg calls it the political equivalent of handing out a gold medal to someone for simply jogging past the starting line in a shiny tracksuit. The media swooned, even when drone strikes disrupted wedding parties overseas. Just another oops. Apparently, if said with enough poise. Then came the surveillance state. Obama promised transparency but instead turned the NSA into America's version of Big Brother. Gutfeld calls it the greatest bait and switch since decaf coffee. Privacy vanished. But hey, say it in a calm, articulate tone, and people nod like they're front row at a TED Talk.
Obama surprised fans on our new podcast by saying her pet peeve about her husband is that he's chronically late. For example, we're still waiting on him to admit he's from Kenya. And as for Barack's pet peeve about Michelle, he's mad that she keeps leaving the toilet seat up. When she cleans it. When she cleans it.
Let's hit rewind and take a hard look at Wall Street. Obama was pitched as the underdog's champion, the guy who'd finally stand up to the financial titans and fight for Main Street. But once the doors to the Oval Office closed, that narrative did a quick costume change. Suddenly, the little guy was left holding the bill, while Wall Street popped champagne and cashed bailout checks. Greg Gutfeld likens it to hiring a fox to guard the henhouse, then acting shocked when all that's left is feathers, broken eggs, and a very satisfied fox. The big banks walked away untouched, bloated, and basically bulletproof, while everyday Americans got a participation trophy and a pink slip. Obama didn't need a press secretary. He had an entire media ecosystem eager to polish every misstep into a misunderstood masterpiece. Greg dubs it the golden age of journalistic bootlicking, where every blunder was rebranded as brilliance, every bailout hailed as bold reform. If Obama sneezed on camera, MSNBC would call it a groundbreaking experiment in climate-friendly airflow. Let's talk education. Obama's grand vision to rescue America's failing schools turned out to be less about results and more about writing massive checks to the same bureaucracy that helped create the mess. Greg Gutfeld compares it to tossing stacks of cash into a burning furnace and hoping a phoenix rises out of the smoke, only instead of wings and wisdom, we got more standardized tests and fewer students who could pass them. He calls it academic trickle-down. Flood the unions with billions and cross your fingers the kids might learn to read before their student loans kick in. Inner city schools didn't improve. They just rebranded with flashy slogans, new mascots, and 5-year plans straight from the Department of Nowhere. And then there's the gun control charade. Obama spoke solemnly about disarming the public while surrounded by more security than a Marvel villain. For Greg, it's not a gun problem, it's a you have one problem. The rules were never meant to apply to him. And immigration? Obama holds the record for deportations, yet was hailed as the compassionate one. Those cages the media later decried? He built them, just added soft lighting and piano music to make it all feel less like a crisis and more like a campaign ad.
Fact. Obama's now a Republican.
Everyone knows that getting rid of the deficit will require some tough decisions.
And that includes cutting back on billions of dollars in programs that a lot of people care about. But what should be easy is getting rid of the pointless waste and stupid spending that doesn't benefit anyone.
And then there's the national debt. Obama nearly doubled it, yet somehow still earned the mystifying title of Fiscal Jedi. Greg Gutfeld can barely keep a straight face every time someone dares to call him economically responsible. That's like calling a pyromaniac a pioneer in home heating innovation. Sure, Obama inherited a financial mess, but instead of cleaning it up, he hung up some inspirational posters, lit the curtains on fire, and blamed the smoke on his predecessor. But the real magic trick? Post-presidency, Obama didn't retire, he rebranded. Gone was the commander-in-chief. In his place, America's most overpaid narrator, delivering moral monologues in soothing tones while cashing in with Silicon Valley elites. Greg jokes that if Morgan Freeman ever loses his voice, Obama already has the cardigan, the cadence, and the smug smile locked and loaded. And then came Trump charging in like a wrecking ball, bulldozing Obama's carefully crafted legacy like it was made of paper muck. The reaction? Somewhere in Martha's Vineyard, you could practically hear the collective gasp. Gutfeld calls it poetic justice. After all, when your presidency is built on executive orders and lofty speeches instead of lasting legislation, don't act shocked when the next guy shows up with a giant eraser.
Sunday, Val Jarrett went on CNN to defend her pal, President Obama. I wonder if the president prides himself on the fact that his administration hasn't had a scandal and that he hasn't done something to embarrass himself.
The president prides himself on the fact that his administration hasn't had a scandal and that he hasn't done anything to embarrass himself.
Now that's a low bar for achievement. He hasn't embarrassed himself. But it's true, no one on his staff was caught in bed with a giraffe yet. But to agree with Val, you gotta ignore the IRS, the DOJ, Benghazi, Secret Service, Bo Bergdahl, and the secret server that led to the Orange Crow.
And let's not overlook one of Obama's favorite buzzwords, unity. He spoke of bringing people together with the poise of a statesman, but Greg Gutfeld argues the real playbook was closer to divide and distract. While the nation spiraled into bitter debates over bathrooms, pronouns, and identity labels, Obama sat back like a man who tossed a grenade into a dinner party, complimented the curtains, and casually walked out as the chaos unfolded behind him. According to Greg, Obama didn't just embrace political correctness, he weaponized it. Disagreeing became dangerous. Joking? Subversive. Irony was rebranded as insensitivity, and satire turned into social risk. It wasn't about inclusion, it was about control. The thing is, Obama wasn't incompetent. He was meticulous. Every word was scripted, every pause deliberate, every facial expression rehearsed to evoke just the right amount of gravitas. And that whole scandal-free myth, Greg laughs it off. That's like saying a magician's trick never failed just because the audience didn't catch it. The scandals existed, they were just buried beneath glowing headlines, carefully ignored like an awkward family secret hidden in the basement, draped in a blanket and shoved behind the fridge.
You woke up to breaking news. Obama isn't woke at all.
This idea of purity and you're never compromised and you're always politically woke and all that stuff, you should get over that quickly. The world is messy. There are ambiguities. People who do really good stuff have flaws. Like if I tweet or hashtag about how you didn't do something right or used the wrong verb, or then I can sit back and feel pretty good about myself because, man, you see how woke I was?
Obama didn't drain the swamp, he opened a gift shop right in the middle of it and slapped a logo on the front. Under his watch, bureaucracy didn't shrink. It swelled like an overinflated parade balloon. Every agency got a fresh coat of paint, a catchy mission statement, and zero accountability. Greg Gutfeld quips that Obama's government grew like a chia pet, just add media praise, and watch the inefficiency sprout overnight. And then there's the arrogance. Greg says Obama could burn a sandwich, blame the bread, and still earn praise for the nuanced mustard placement. The spin was that strong. He could sell a misstep as a masterstroke, and the press would nod in harmony. By the time he left office, America wasn't renewed, it was dazed. The economy was fragile, divisions were deeper, and the public was buried beneath mountains of elegant but empty rhetoric.
Technically, it's a scandal telling America you can keep your doctor, a callous deception that hurts millions. And it's a scandal of will to deny a toxic doctrine fomenting apocalyptic violence. And it's a scandal to ignore the modern Black Death, a plague currently crippling Chicago. Obama's tenure had more dirty linen than Charlie Sheen's hamper. But when your heart's in the right place, doing the wrong thing's always forgivable. And maybe scandal was just so common.
Greg Gutfeld doesn't just roast Obama, he holds up a mirror to the entire spectacle and asks, point blank, are you still buying this? Behind the glossy branding, the filtered Instagram moments, and the perfectly timed dramatic pauses was a man who mastered the art of selling hope the way Apple sells iPhones, sleek, seductive, and mostly packaging. But when it came to governing, it felt more like a group project quietly handed off to interns struggling with a spotty Wi-Fi connection and no clue where the syllabus went. And we're not even into the deeper layers yet. The rise of tech censorship didn't start with Silicon Valley boardrooms, it found fertile ground in Obama's cultural afterglow. The polite push toward weaponized identity politics wasn't a bug, it was a feature. From kindergarten classrooms to C-suite diversity seminars, every institution got its own ideological upgrade courtesy of his legacy. Meanwhile, Obama still floats above the cultural chaos like a polished oracle, appearing only when the media craves a dose of nostalgia wrapped in polished metaphors and lighting that looks like it came from a Vanity Fair shoot. Greg can't help but laugh because this is the guy who laid the blueprint for today's climate of cancel culture, performative outrage, and Ivy League lectures delivered from beachfront estates. Obama didn't just lead, he curated vibes. And the result? A country that confuses trending hashtags for meaningful action and thinks retweeting a cause is the same thing as fixing it. But hey, as long as the speech had rhythm and the lighting was soft, nobody noticed the empire cracking beneath the aesthetic.